I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and first off, yes, the beard is gone. It's that time of year again, so the beard gets shaved off. We go a little bit slicker, a little bit of increased ballistic coefficient, and we'll stay this way until about late August, early September, and then it will make its reappearance for the cold weather again. But for that reason, I'm sitting here with my cup of hate and discontent. And we got a list of questions, and we're going to go through them and talk about some things. Our first question comes from Polsky Hetson. And just so you guys do understand, these are questions that we've taken off the comments from last week's Mail Call Mondays video on YouTube. So that's where they're coming from. And Polsky asks, I'm thinking of starting to do precision rifle matches. How would you suggest I start, and how should I train for the first one? Well, I'm going to kind of flip this question around and take the second half first. How you train for a precision rifle match is going to depend upon what your skill level is when you're starting out. If you are really new to the world of precision rifles, then start with the fundamentals of marksmanship, which is going to be breathing, it's going to be natural sight alignment, natural body position, it's going to be trigger control, all that fun stuff. You're going to need to get a basics of marksmanship down, basic skills of marksmanship down from the prone position or from shooting off the bench first. I recommend the prone position if your range will allow, because it's really going to be more natural and it's going to be easier to transfer those skills over to field shooting at matches. So really you're going to have to work on first getting straight behind the rifle, making sure that you have the proper firing hand position on the rifle, get used to supporting the buttstock of the rifle with your support hand and with a sandbag or rear bag of some type. So get used to shooting off the bipod. Doesn't do you any good to get used to shooting off of a rest. Make sure that you get used to shooting at that natural respiratory pause. When you naturally exhale, there's that little pause before you inhale again. That's when you want to break the shot, and you want to practice on breaking the shot at that position naturally. Get it going until you can do it without any conscious thought, and that will help you on time stages. Trigger control, you want to make sure you get that nice right degree or right angle trigger finger. Get it placed on the trigger and then build your hand position off of that naturally. And get used to those kind of things. Now, one thing that will really help you in competition, just basic mechanics of it, is get used to when you fire and you eject the cartridge, if you're going to do any moving, if you're going to get up off the rifle or whatever, leave that bolt back. That is a rule for most precision rifle type matches, is that anytime you're moving, the bolt needs to be to the rear and the chamber open. That's just a safety thing. It's difficult to tell if you've got the rifle on safe or off safe. It's easy to tell when the bolt is back to the rear. So practice that. Then after you've got the fundamentals down, it's time to get up off the ground and start shooting off of barricades, start shooting off of obstacles. Work on getting into position quickly with an economy of motion. Everything that we do at PRS matches is on the clock. So you need to get into position quick, get ready to get that shot off with a minimum of wasted time. Beyond that, you're going to need to practice engaging multiple targets at multiple distances. So sitting down and just shooting one target and banging that one target over and over and over again, that may help you try to notice wind changes, that kind of stuff. It'll be necessary to get your rifle doped out to make sure that the information that's coming off a ballistic computer or that's coming off of an iPhone is matching up with what your rifle is actually doing. But beyond that, you want to get used to hitting a target and moving to another target. That also can help save you some time and help you do better on the clock. And then once you get all that down, see what you're weakest at and concentrate on bolstering those skills. Now the first part, how do you start? Well, starting is the easiest part. Look for a precision rifle match near you, pay your entry fee, and show up. That is the best way to start, even if you don't think you're ready to go shoot a match. As long as you can shoot your rifle safely, pay the entry fee, go and shoot the match. It doesn't mean, go shoot a national level match. If you have local matches near you, go and shoot the local matches. But even if you don't have any local matches near you and you need to go out and shoot a national level PRS match, go do it. Do it just for the experience. I can guarantee you that what you will learn shooting your first match is worth the entry fee, even if you come in absolute dead last. And the thing is, everyone there will want to help you out. So the best way to start is just roll into it, go and shoot a match. As long as you can do so safely, then everything else is going to come. Our next question comes from Nordwall LS2, and he asks, which Kestrel model would you recommend as an entry-level model for someone shooting anywhere from 100 to 500 yards? My first weather meter that I got when I got back into precision rifle shooting was a Kestrel 2500. It was actually the 2500 NV, if I remember right. And that doesn't give you density altitude. It just gives you barometric pressure and temperature, and that plus knowing your altitude will get you to where you need to go. You can also rig it to give you station pressure, and that kind of nullifies the need for the altitude. So that will get you going for a minimum price. And if I remember offhand, the 2500 is really not that expensive. If you get the night vision version, it looks like on Kestrel meters, they're about $154. But really, I would recommend that you save that money and wait to get the Kestrel that you want to get. Now, if you want to get one that will do everything that you need to do really for the minimum of cost, then look for one that will output density altitude. And those will be relatively cheap versus the full-on ballistic computer Kestrels. My preference, though, is for one with either the applied ballistics or the Horus A-Trag built into it. That way you can just do everything with one device. You don't have to juggle cell phone and Kestrel, or be able to juggle all the extra stuff. Now, one place obviously the Kestrel will help you with is the Kestrel will help you learn to gauge wind. So if you're not really dead on with your wind calls right now, then I would say that would be worthwhile getting something like the 2500 to start with, because that is compact enough. It's not real hard on batteries. You can carry it around in your back pocket, and you can pull that thing out and you can gauge the wind wherever you are and start to get used to correlating environmental effects to wind speed. I used to love to take mine around, and I would just pull the Kestrel out and hold it up, and after feeling the wind on my face, hearing the volume of it rushing past my ears, then I could hold up the Kestrel, look at it, and say, okay, well, that's such and such mile-an-hour wind. And you do that over and over again, and you start to get a really good feel to where you can stick your face in the wind and get fairly close to a certain mile per hour. Beyond, say, 10 to 15 mile-an-hour gusts, you really need a wind meter to be able to tell you, because it just all starts to fall together as far as your physical senses are concerned. So that is a good reason to get a Kestrel, and the 2500 really will get you started at the base level. Don't waste your money on some of the other really cheap stuff out there. There's a wind meter made by Caldwell that I've seen guys get, and they just really are not accurate. They're not real durable. Stick with the Kestrel line of weather meters. Our next question comes from Michael Wozniak, and he asks, how often should you shoot to keep up muscle memory when it comes to positioning yourself behind a rifle, whether it being prone, kneeling, and standing? Cheers. Well, Michael, the best thing to do is get out as often as you can. If you are not able to actually get to the range to practice those positions, you can do what's called snapping in your living room, inside your house, wherever. And that's just basically dry firing in the different positions. In the Marine Corps, the week before we would go to the rifle range to qualify, we would spend the entire week out in the company area with these stupid barrels with silhouettes of the targets painted on them, just practicing getting into the various positions, getting slung up, and then dry firing over and over and over again for the entire day, for an entire week, just doing nothing but dry firing. For our purposes, you don't really have to go that extreme, although more will help you. As long as you are practicing properly, you're not ingraining bad skills. As long as you're ingraining good skills, as often as you can do it, will help you out more. However, I would say doing it at least once or twice a week, that is going to help you out greatly. I try to shoot for at least one live fire day each week. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but several times a month I do get out and live fire. I'm trying to get my dry fire back up. I haven't been able to get my dry fire time up to where I'd like it to be, so I generally substitute that by actually getting out to the range and live firing. I realize there are a lot of people that don't have the ability to get to the range even every week to live fire, so getting out and actually snapping in your living room at least every couple of days is really a good option to try to keep those skills at their peak. Our next question comes from, I believe it's Wendell. There's a J in there at the end that I'm not sure how it goes. How can I tell a certain factory ammo is going to shoot well in my gun? Is there more I can do than just match grain weight and spin rates? Well, again, coming back to the way that you should determine what your twist rate or what bullet weight will go with your twist rate, it has more to do with the overall length of the bullet than the actual weight of the bullet. So make sure you're looking at it correctly. But once you have decided that a certain bullet is going to be stable in your bore, the only thing left to do is to take that factory ammunition out and actually shoot it. It's very difficult to look at a box of factory ammo and figure out if the powder and the powder charge weight that they are using is going to be accurate in your rifle without actually shooting it. So I would recommend before you go out and you buy 1,000 rounds of a certain type, go buy a couple 20-round boxes. Go out, figure the first box is probably just going to foul out your barrel. The second box will actually give you a good idea of what kind of accuracy it will do in that rifle. So buying it and shooting it is really about the only way to determine how accurate that's going to be. Now, there is a flip side of that. If you are purchasing factory ammunition just because you don't have the time to hand load, but you already have a recipe that works well in the rifle, you can call some of the boutique factory ammunition companies like Copper Creek Cartridge Company and tell them what you want them to load for you, and they can load ammo to your recipe. So then you're going to be assured you're going to get ammo that you know performs well in your rifle. If you don't have the ability to hand load, then you can call them up and tell them what you have. They can discuss with you the options on sending your rifle to them and have them develop a load for your rifle. That is a service that they offer the last time I checked. So that's another option if it is just simply you not being able to load ammunition for your own rifle and wanting the convenience of buying factory loaded ammunition. Next question comes from Tyler, and Tyler asks, John, first off, great job on all your videos. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Tyler. Next he says, I would like to hear your thoughts on reticles. I started off shooting an H59 reticle and it's just fine. However, I'm going to be purchasing a new scope here soon and I'm not sure I want to stay with the Horus. I like the EBR 2C and the Skimmer 3 reticles, but honestly, I just don't know yet. I'd like to know your thoughts on various reticles and your progression from start to what you're using now. Well, Tyler, when I first started out, the first reticle I got used to was the standard mil-dot reticle in the Untitled 10X scope. And we've progressed quite a bit from that reticle, and I would not want to go back to using just a standard mil-dot reticle. For what I do now, it just does not give me enough information. I can shoot a mil-dot reticle. I prefer not to. I still have a couple of scopes floating around here that have mil-dot reticles in them. When my M40A1 is finished, it will have a MST100 with the standard mil-dot reticle back in it. Most of the scopes that I shoot now, if I have the option to get the Horus H59 reticle, I get the H59 reticle in it, and that is just for continuity between my scopes. Reticles like the other reticles you mentioned, the EBR2C and the Skimmer 3 reticles, those are really proprietary to their scope manufacturers. The EBR series of reticles, of course, is Vortex, and the Skimmer reticles right now are only found in the Collis scopes. So really, you kind of pin yourself down to a limited selection of reticles with those scopes. That's not a bad thing. If you do not have a bunch of different rigs that you are working with, then being able to have one scope, or if you don't have a bunch of different scope manufacturers, if all your scopes have Vortex, or all your rifles have Vortex scopes on them, then you can stick with EBR reticles. I think the EBR reticles and the Vortex, as long as you are picking one of the versions that has the wind hold dots below the horizontal stadia, I think it's a good way to go. Same thing with the Skimmer reticles. They have version with wind hold dots and without. Now, when I talk about wind hold dots, my preference for the Christmas tree, as I like to call it, underneath the center of the reticle, is for that to be laid out in mils. I do not like some of the other type of Horus reticles where they have those laid out in a mile per hour, or they have some kind of ballistic formula that correlates that to a specific round. I really want that just laid out in mils. That way, if I have to hold, I can know about how many mils I'm going to hold for this mile-an-hour wind at this range, and I can drive on with it. And that will translate to whatever reticle I'm using, or it'll translate even back to running a standard mil-dot reticle. When we get into all these kind of crazy formulas and crazy ballistic reticles, that starts to cause a problem. But beyond that, I like a reticle that will actually have hash marks instead of dots. I don't get wrapped up about the center of the reticle. I have a couple of scopes here that have open center reticles. I have a couple of scopes here like the H59s that have the dot in the center. And either of them work fine. I just really, if the reticle has a thicker stadia line, then I would prefer an open or a dot center. If it has a thinner stadia line, then I can get away with even the closed center, just a regular crossed reticle in the center. What it really is going to come down to is what you like. When you look through a reticle, do you look at it and go, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff going on there? Or do you look through it and go, yeah, this has got information I need, and the stuff that I don't need doesn't get in the way? That's really the key thing. And I will caution you on making your reticle choices based upon the drawings of the reticle. It's really important to actually look through the scope. Because I've seen some drawings before where I looked at and thought, oh, this is a mess, this is going to be a problem. And then I looked through the reticle in an actual rifle scope in a shooting environment and thought, okay, this isn't that bad, because the stuff that I thought was going to get in the way really blends into the background and it doesn't cause a problem. Scopes that get really, really cluttered, those may cause you problems, but again, you need to see it in a shooting background in the type of environment that you will normally shoot in. So it's kind of hard to just look at the catalog and choose which reticle. It's really kind of better to get out and actually get behind them when you can and choose a reticle based on what you have seen through other shooter scopes. Our last question today comes from Jean. And Jean says, I am in Europe, France, and I have two small questions for you. First, I'm really interested in a Tikka T3 CTR with a Vortex Viper PST 6-24x50 scope in first focal plane. Planning already to upgrade to a KRG stock. As we don't have the choices like you have in the US, and we can't easily order in the US thanks to ITAR, I'm on a budget. So my question is a little selfish, but what do you think of that combo, or what would you suggest? Thanks in advance, keep up the good works, and greetings from old Europe. Well, I tell you what, I think the T3 in a KRG chassis, whether you go with the Whiskey 3 or the X-Ray, and mounting a Viper PST on it, I think that's going to work really well as long as that is your price range. The Viper PSTs have turned into a really good mid-level budget scope. So if you can't step up to the Razor line, the Viper PST and first focal plane should really get it done for you. And I think you're going to really enjoy shooting the KRG chassis because that's going to give you access to Accuracy International magazines instead of having to stick with the Tikka magazines. So overall, I think that's a really good choice for a rifle. I think you're going to enjoy it. And please send us some photos when you get that thing put together. We'd really like to see what you've got going on. And that is it for questions for this Mail Call Mondays. Hope you liked the show. And again, going forward, we are going to take our questions from the comments down below. Now you see the guy sitting in front of me here. One of the reasons that we have the TAC-21 sitting out here is we just got done shooting it at the range, doing some field work with it, and we are wrapping up the review on the TAC-21. So make sure you look forward to that. That will be coming up real soon. We also, I don't have it sitting out here because I have no idea what I did with it now, but we are also wrapping up a review of the Sane cleaning kit. We got to talk to Brian Sane at SHOT Show, and he showed us this brand new cleaning kit that he's got going. So that should be dropping here this next week. Also, for those of you who didn't see our Facebook post, we do have our patches on sale on our website. These guys are $22. You may think that's a little expensive, but we actually this time around went with a U.S. veteran-owned company, and these guys are produced here in the U.S. So they're not produced overseas. You don't have to worry about any cancer-causing material, although I'm sure they probably still cause cancer in California. These things are good to go. We are using the money, obviously, to go back into increasing our production value here at the show. So buying these guys directly helps increase the quality of the videos that you are watching. So we really appreciate it if you help us out. We only have a couple handfuls of these guys left, so if you want one, check the link down below. Make sure you go and get one before they are all gone. Not sure when we will be doing the next run of these patches. So please help us out, get a patch, show your support. And that's all we have for this Mail Call Mondays. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for sending in your questions. Please leave your questions down in the comments section below, or come visit us on Facebook or Twitter. And until next time, get out and shoot.